A manipulative woman walked into Judge Judy's courtroom with the ultimate deception, a fake pregnancy. She orchestrated everything to trap her boyfriend, make him look like a villain, and destroy him in front of millions. She lied about the baby. She fabricated evidence. She even brought fake medical records to seal the deal. But Judge Judy saw right through her scheme. What happened next will absolutely shock you. The judge didn't just expose her lies. She delivered a historical punishment so severe that courtroom observers gasped in disbelief. The woman's face went white as her entire manipulation crumbled. This is justice like you've never seen before. The doors to the courtroom swung open with a soft thunder, and Corinne entered as if the world itself were watching. One hand on her lower stomach, the other gripping a stack of carefully curated papers, she walked with the fragile sway of someone carrying life, or the illusion of it. The camera follows her slow glide across the aisle, catching every dramatic flutter of her eyelashes, every exaggerated breath. She wasn't just stepping into Judge Judy's courtroom. She was stepping onto a stage she had designed herself. Daniel sat at the plaintiff's table, shoulders caved inward, hands folded tightly. His eyes flicked up at her, not with anger, but with a quiet, exhausted dread. He'd seen this performance too many times to mistake it for anything but theater. The lighting above him cast a soft, cold glow across his face, making him appear smaller, almost swallowed by the weight of what brought him here. Papers rustled as Corinne placed them carefully on the defendant's podium, running her palm over them like they were holy artifacts. She even let out a soft, strategic groan, as if standing was a monumental burden. A few murmurs rose from the audience. They were already buying it. But Judge Judy wasn't looking at the papers. She was looking at her. The judge's eyes tracked Corinne's movements with the stillness of a hawk, deciding whether the creature before it was prey or predator, or something much stranger. The courtroom lights bounced off Judy's glasses, reflecting sharp slices of white that seemed to cut right through Corinne's facade. "Good morning," Corinne whispered, injecting her voice with the trembling sweetness of a porcelain doll. I'm sorry if I move slowly. For the baby." Daniel shut his eyes. He knew that line was coming. Judge Judy didn't respond. She simply gestured for the bailiff to collect the documents without breaking eye contact. The sound of his shoes against the polished floor filled the tense silence. Up close, the documents looked official, very official, almost too official. Judy took them in her hands, thumbing through each sheet with deliberate slowness, like she was listening for lies between the printed lines. Corinne lifted her chin slightly, confident. She had rehearsed every beat of this moment. The sympathy, the gasp, the moral outrage that would follow when she accused Daniel of abandoning her. She imagined millions watching clips of her crying, painting her as the wronged mother-to-be. But something in Judy's face didn't shift. Not soften. Not react. Not even blink. It was the stillness that did it, Corinne's first crack of unease. Her fingers fidgeted against the podium. The performance wobbled. Judge Judy finally closed the file, placed it flat on the bench, and leaned forward just enough for the camera to catch the sharp glint in her eyes. "Well," she said, voice cool and unreadable, "we're going to have a very interesting day." She tapped the papers once, just once, and added, "Ms. Jacobs, before we proceed, do you understand that lying in this courtroom carries consequences?" The question hung in the air as Corinne's smile faltered. Corinne's smile reappeared the instant Judy looked down at the paperwork again. It wasn't the smile of a nervous woman. It was the smile of someone who believed she'd already won. The kind of smile you see right before a magician reveals a trick they think is foolproof. She adjusted the hem of her blouse, placing both hands protectively around her belly, as though shielding a life that never existed. The camera shifts to Daniel. His jaw tightens, but he stays seated, shoulders squared this time. He knows Judy sees through performances better than anyone alive. Still, watching Corinne weaponize softness eats at him. Judge Judy lifts her gaze. All right, Miss Jacobs, tell me why we're here. Corinne inhales shakily, too shakily. Well, Your Honor, it's about Daniel abandoning me during my pregnancy. She lets her voice dip and rise, performing emotional tremors like notes in a rehearsed song. He left when I needed him most. I begged him not to put stress on the baby, but he didn't care. Daniel shakes his head, exhaling disbelief through his nose. Corinne sees it and immediately twists her face into a wounded expression. You see, that's exactly how he treats me. Cold, dismissive, like my pain means nothing. He courtroom audience murmurs. A few eyebrows lift in sympathy. Her trap is working. She's controlling the emotional temperature of the room. But Judy isn't swayed. Let him speak when it's his turn, she says sharply. Continue. Corinne presses on. He told me he wanted nothing to do with the child. He blocked my calls, ignored my messages, refused to help with prenatal care. I've been paying for everything myself. And now, her voice cracks dramatically, he's trying to make me look like a liar. Judge Judy's head tilts, not in sympathy but in calculation. And these records, she taps the stack lightly, you brought them to support all of this. Yes, Your Honor, Corinne says quickly. You'll see everything. Ultrasounds, visit summaries, due date projections. The doctor even said stress could harm the baby. So if Daniel keeps harassing me, Daniel can't hold back anymore. I'm not harassing you. You're not even. Stop, Judy cuts in, palm raised. The command slices the air clean. Daniel obeys instantly. The camera pushes in on Corinne's face. Her eyes gleam with practiced innocence. She thinks she's controlling the narrative, sewing herself into the fabric of victimhood where she's always felt safest. But Judy has noticed something already, a discrepancy in how the documents are formatted. The fonts don't match. The dates are printed in two different styles, and one clinic name seems off. Ms. Jacobs, Judy says slowly, your timeline is interesting. Corinne beams, thank you, Your Honor. That wasn't a compliment. Corinne's smile freezes. Judy flips one page toward herself and asks, if you're pregnant, why does this medical form list you as non-pregnant 2 weeks ago? Corinne's breath catches, just for a moment, just long enough for the camera to catch the flicker of panic behind her eyes. It's subtle, but it's there. A hairline fracture in the performance she thought was unbreakable. Judge Judy holds the questionable medical form between two fingers like it might disintegrate under the weight of its own lie. Explain this, she repeats, voice steady as stone. Corinne forces out a trembling laugh. Oh, that must have been a mix-up. You know how clinics are, clerical errors, overworked nurses, mix-ups with charts. Daniel lets out a quiet, incredulous exhale, and the microphone catches it. A soft, defeated sound. The kind of sound someone makes when they've run out of ways to warn the world about a liar who spins faster than truth can catch. Judy doesn't look at Daniel. She keeps her eyes locked on Corinne. Clerical errors do not usually involve marking a pregnant woman as not pregnant. Corinne swallows hard. Her fingers tap the podium in an uneven rhythm, like her nerves are starting to syncopate. I can call them, they can fix it, my doctor said. Your doctor, Judy interrupts, her tone razor-sharp. Which one? Corinne freezes again. A pause not long but long enough to betray her. She recovers with a shaky smile. The new one. I switched. Daniel was stressing me out and my old clinic wasn't supportive. This is the moment where the camera cuts to Daniel. His eyebrows knit, his jaw tight. I didn't even know she had a doctor, he mutters, voice low but audible. Or a pregnancy. Corinne shoots him a glare sharp enough to cut glass. You denied everything. I had to protect myself. Judge Judy raises a hand, not to silence Daniel this time, but to command the courtroom's attention. Ms. Jacobs, she says, flipping through the documents again, Why do the clinic names on your forms not match each other? Why is one from a facility that closed last year? And why are half these pages formatted differently? The audience stirs, a ripple of murmurs spreading like wind across grass. Corinne's mask begins to slip. Her tongue darts across her dry lips. I printed copies. Maybe the formatting changed when I scanned them. I don't know, I didn't check. You didn't check, Judy repeats, voice cool and deadly. Or you didn't expect anyone else to. Corinne's complexion shifts a shade paler. Judy lays the papers out across the bench in a neat row. 3 different fonts. 2 inconsistent dates. 1 clinic logo stretched and pixelated. The more you talk, Judy says, the more this story begins to unravel. A quiet beat. Just the soft hum of fluorescent lights and Corinne's uneven breathing. Well then, Judy continues, eyes narrowing, we'll verify these documents. She turns to the bailiff. Bring me a computer, Judy says, tapping the sonogram photo with a sharp nail. We're checking these clinics right now. Corinne suddenly straightens, as if remembering the ace she's been hiding. Your Honor, she whispers dramatically, maybe this will help. Her hand drifts into her purse, the room stills, even the camera seems to hold its breath. She pulls out a small glossy photo, the kind meant to melt hearts, a grayscale silhouette, rounded edges, a perfectly centered fetus. A sonogram. Gasps scatter through the O. Dints like falling dominoes. Corinne raises it delicately, her fingers trembling with carefully rehearsed emotion. This, she says softly, is my baby. Judge Judy doesn't move. The silence stretches long enough to become uncomfortable. The bailiff retrieves the photo and places it onto Judy's bench. The judge leans in, studying it with the intensity of someone inspecting counterfeit currency. Corinne clasps her hands together, her entire body angled toward the judge like a worshiper awaiting forgiveness. Daniel, rigid in his seat, closes his eyes. He's seen that image before. He isn't sure where, but he knows, instinctively, that this is another lie dressed in sentimentality. Judy's brow twitches, just once. A tell only the sharpest court watchers recognize. Ms. Jacobs, she begins slowly, when was this image taken? Corinne breathes out shakily. 11 weeks ago. I had to go alone. Daniel refused to come. Daniel opens his mouth, then shuts it. This isn't the moment, not yet. Judy turns the photo under the light, letting the glossy surface reflect across her glasses. Then she notices something. A faint string of characters in the lower right corner, barely visible unless the light hits at the perfect angle. A date. A clinic code. A watermark. She taps it lightly. Interesting. Corinne's smile widens, completely unaware she's standing over a trap door. That's my sonogram, Your Honor. The proof he said didn't exist. Judy slides the photo across the bench toward the bailiff. Get me a magnifier. A second gasp ripples through the audience. Corinne's posture stiffens, but she recovers quickly, layering on a fragile smile. It's all there, she insists. I've done everything right, I only. Quiet, Judy cuts in, never raising her voice. Power doesn't need volume. The magnifier arrives. Judy studies the lower corner of the image again, and now the discrepancy becomes undeniable. The clinic watermark is outdated. The formatting is inconsistent with modern sonogram prints. And the date. The date doesn't match Corinne's supposed pregnancy timeline. Judy leans back, eyes drilling into Corinne with surgical precision. Ms. Jacobs, she says, voice cold enough to frost glass. This photo seems familiar. Daniel sits forward sharply. I knew it, he whispers. Corinne forces a laugh that doesn't reach her eyes. Familiar, what does that mean? Judy places the photo face down on the bench. Tell me, Judy says, voice dropping into deadly calm. Whose baby is this, exactly? The courtroom erupts as Corinne's smile cracks down the middle, and the truth strains against the walls she built. Corinne's mouth opens, but no sound comes out, just the faint, shaky exhale of someone realizing the room no longer believes her. The sonogram sits face down like a confession on the judge's bench. The audience's murmurs grow heavier, thicker, like humidity before a storm. Judge Judy's eyes narrow. Whose baby is it, Miss Jacobs? The question doesn't just hang, it pulses. Corinne swallows hard, then forces a trembling smile. It's mine, of course it's mine. I don't know why the date looks strange. Maybe the machine was old. The lie is thin, transparent, desperate. Daniel finally speaks, quietly but firmly. She stole that photo, Judge. It's not hers. She used to save random baby pictures to pretend she was pregnant before. She did it with her ex. She's doing it again. The courtroom shifts, head snapping toward Corinne as if seeing her for the first time. Corinne's face tightens. He's lying to make me look unstable. Judy tilts her head, studying Corinne the way one studies a puzzle piece that doesn't belong in the box. Ms. Jacobs, she says, this photo you submitted is from a clinic that closed 3 years ago. So unless you've developed time travel during pregnancy, you have a very serious problem. The words hit harder than a gavel. Corinne's carefully crafted innocence fractures. Tiny fissures spider across her expression. The trembling in her hands is no longer theatrical, it's fear. Judy leans back, steepling her fingers. Let's try a different question. Why go through all this trouble? Fake documents, stolen images, false accusations. What exactly did you hope to gain? Corinne grips the podium like it's the only thing keeping her upright. I just wanted him to take responsibility. Responsibility for a baby that doesn't exist, Judy fires back. Corinne's voice cracks. He left me. I gave him everything and he walked away, like I was disposable. The courtroom quiets for the first time. Not out of sympathy, out of clarity. Daniel shifts, guilt flickering briefly across his features. He hadn't expected honesty from her, not even this broken version of it. You wanted him back, Judy says, but the statement is not a guess. It's a conclusion. Corinne's eyes glisten. I wanted him to feel what I felt, she whispers. I wanted him scared. I wanted him to see what he lost. A beat. The truth hangs raw and trembling. But Judy, assent done. And the documents, the sonogram, the elaborate performance, Judy asks. Corinne hesitates just long enough. Then he wouldn't listen, so I had to make him make everyone. Daniel's hands tighten into fists. This isn't love, he says softly. This is punishment. Judge Judy leans forward, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade. And now you will be punished for weaponizing motherhood and manipulating this court. Corinne flinches, blinking rapidly. Judy taps the row of fake documents with a single, sharp nail. We're far from done, because this, she lifts the sonogram, is just the beginning of your lies. And the courtroom braces for what she uncovers next. Corinne's voice rises before anyone can speak, as if volume, not truth, will save her. He's lying. He's always lied about me. But this time, the room doesn't lean toward sympathy. It leans away. The shift is subtle at first, just a few narrowed eyes, a few tightened lips. Then it spreads like a ripple across a still pond. The audience, once hesitant, now watches her the way someone watches a performer who's missed a cue and doesn't realize the show is already collapsing. Judge Judy lifts one eyebrow. Ms. Jacobs, I didn't ask for a performance, I asked for facts. Corinne blinks fast, squeezing out tears that feel more manufactured than ever. But I'm pregnant, she insists. I'm under stress. I shouldn't be spoken to this way. Judy doesn't flinch. Stress doesn't create forged documents. The room erupts into soft murmurs. Corinne gasps audibly, dramatically, clutching her stomach like an award-winning actress in a melodrama. Her breathing becomes exaggerated, shallow, loud enough for the microphones to pick up. Oh God, judge the baby. Judy doesn't even blink. Ms. Jacobs, hyperventilating is not evidence. Daniel's face tightens. His hands curl into fists under the desk, not in anger but in pain. For months he'd been painted as a monster, a deserter, a heartless man who abandoned a pregnant woman. To watch her perform the same routine here in front of the world is almost too much to bear. Corinne points a shaky finger at him. He's staring at me. He's trying to intimidate me. The audience doesn't buy it. Not anymore. Now they see the cracks, the convenient timing of her panic, the exaggerated breaths, the way she waits to see if anyone reacts before continuing the performance. Judy leans forward. Ms. Jacobs, if you continue to interrupt this courtroom with theatrics, I will hold you in contempt. The word lands like a hammer. Corinne's breath steadies immediately. Suspiciously immediately. Judy turns to the documents again, flipping pages with sharp, deliberate motions. These forms, she says, list conflicting appointment times. One states Thursday at 2 p.m., the other states Thursday at 4 p.m. for the same evaluation. Corinne stammers, well, sometimes they update the time after. No, Judy interrupts, they don't. The audience react, soft gasps, quiet nods. Corinne is losing them. The room is no longer on her side. It is watching her unravel in real time. Judy looks to the court clerk. Call the clinic, we're getting answers. The air tightens, thick, electric. Corinne's eyes widen as the clerk reaches for the phone. No, Judge, please, there's no need to. There is every need, Judy says calmly. As the phone begins to ring, Judy locks eyes with Corinne. Let's see if the clinic can keep your story alive. Tell me in the comments, if you watched someone lie this boldly under oath, what would you do? The courtroom goes dead silent the moment the phone picks up. A soft click. A faint hum of the line connecting. And suddenly Corinne's entire future hangs on a voice she cannot see. The clerk clears her throat. This is Judge Judith Shanelin's courtroom calling regarding a patient verification. The room holds its breath. Corinne's hands begin to tremble, real tremble this time, not the theatrical quiver she deployed earlier. Her knuckles whiten as she grips the podium, her eyes darting between the phone and Judy like a trapped animal searching for an exit. Yes, hello, a nurse answers. The voice is calm, professional, unaware it has entered a battlefield. How can I help you? Judy leans forward slightly, her tone unshakable. We need to confirm details for a patient claiming prenatal care at your facility. Name, Corinne Jacobs. A pause, papers shuffle faintly on the other end. Corinne's breathing grows shallow. She wets her lips, blinking rapidly. This was not part of her script. The nurse returns. I'm sorry, what was the name? Corinne Jacobs, Judy repeats. More shuffling, a keyboard clacks. Then the nurse says the words that detonate the entire courtroom. We don't have any patient under that name. No visits, no pregnancy records, nothing. The audience reacts instantly, gasps, whispered shock, the sound of someone exhaling so loudly it echoes. Daniel's shoulders drop, like a weight he's carried for Mo. Ince is finally sliding off. But Judy isn't finished. She motions for the clerk to continue. Could you verify whether the forms submitted here? She lifts one of Corinne's forged documents, were issued by your office. Another pause, more typing. Then, no ma'am, those aren't ours. The headers are wrong and the logo was changed 2 years ago. Those documents are not authentic. Corinne collapses slightly against the podium. Her eyes gloss over, not with tears, but with the terror of someone watching the lie she lived inside evaporate in front of hundreds. Judy nods once. "Thank you," she says. The clerk ends the call. Silence. A different kind of silence now, thick, condemning, undeniable. Corinne's voice bursts out in a cracked whisper. That must be a mistake. They didn't check right." "Enough." Judy's voice slices clean through her trembling excuses. "You told this court under oath that you were a patient there, that they ran these tests, that these forms were legitimate. You understand what falsifying medical records means." Corinne shakes her head desperately. "I know, I didn't know, You just lied," Judy finishes for her, spectacularly. Daniel presses a hand over his mouth, overwhelmed, relieved, destroyed, vindicated all at once. Judy turns to Corinne with a stare that could stop a heartbeat. "Ms. Jacobs," she says, "stand up, because now we're going to talk about the second clinic you claim to visit." Corinne's knees nearly buckle. The courtroom braces for the next unraveling. Corinne jerks upright as if electrified, eyes wide, breath shuddering. "The second clinic," she blurts, grabbing onto the words like a drowning woman clinging to driftwood. She forces a smile, thin, brittle, and panicked. "Yes, Judge, I didn't mention it earlier because it's private." The audience stirs. Private is code and everyone knows it. Judge Judy folds her hands, elbows resting on the bench. "Private," she repeats, tone flat. "You filed a lawsuit based on these records. Nothing is private anymore." Corinne swallows. "Well, the clinic specializes in sensitive women's care. They don't always keep standard files. It's more discreet." Judy's eyebrow lifts, the kind of lift that means you are digging your own grave. Keep going. "What's the name of this alleged clinic?" Corinne hesitates too long. Then, Sunrise Family Wellness. The clerk immediately begins typing. The audience leans in. Corinne fidgets, her shoulders tightening, fingers picking at invisible lint. She knows, God, she knows, that name came from a half-remembered billboard she once drove past. The clerk stops typing. Her face shifts. There it is, the blow coming before Judy even asks for it. "Judge," the clerk says quietly, "there is no registered clinic with that name in the state." A soft explosion of gasps ripples through the courtroom. Corinne reacts instantly, too instantly. They must be new. Maybe they haven't filed paperwork yet. Or maybe they go by another name, Sunrise Women's Center. Yes, that's it. More typing. More silence. "No such center exists," the clerk confirms. Corinne's smile begins to twitch. Then it closed. Places close all the time. Maybe they. Daniel finally speaks, voice low with exhausted disbelief. "She's making it up, just like everything else." Corinne whips around toward him. "I'm not making it up. I've been there. I talked to the nurse, the doctor." Judy cuts her off. "Spell the doctor's name." Corinne freezes. Her lips part. Nothing comes out. The courtroom is a vacuum. "Spell it," Judy repeats. Corinne stammers, Dr. Melanie. Maybe. I don't remember her last name, it was complicated." "Women entrust their health to doctors they cannot name," Judy fires back. Corinne's throat tightens. Her eyes dart around, searching for support that no longer exists. Even the audience, once sympathetic, now watches her with a mixture of pity and disgust. Judy leans forward, lowering her voice. "Every time you speak, the truth gets smaller and your story gets bigger. That's how lies work. They need room, and you're running out of it." Corinne's breath hitches. Her hands tremble uncontrollably now, not theatrical, but from pure unraveling fear. Daniel pulls a small stack of papers from his folder. "Judge," he says quietly, "I have something else, messages from Corinne. She told me explicitly that if I did cooperate, she'd do whatever it took to make me look guilty, even fake a pregnancy if she had to." The courtroom freezes. Corinne's face drains of blood. Judge Judy's eyes sharpen like steel drawn from a sheath. She slams the gavel once hard. "This lie goes much deeper than a fake baby," Judy declares. "Ms. Jacobs, I believe you plan to profit from this deception." Corinne's knees buckle. The audience erupts. The courtroom lights seem to sharpen as Judge Judy motions to the bailiff. "Bring me the screenshots," she says. And with those 6 words, Corinne's face drains of every remaining ounce of color. The bailiff places a thick stack of printed pages on the bench, crisp, cold, damning. The sound they make is heavier than paper should be. Like a verdict landing early. Judge Judy flips the top page. A forum post. A username circled in red. The same username tied to several questionable threads. Corinne's throat clicks as she swallows, hard. "Ms. Jacobs," Judy begins, "are you familiar with this account?" Corinne stares at the document with wide, unblinking eyes. I don't know what that is." Daniel exhales sharply, unable to hold it in any longer. "Judge, that's her. I bet everything I have on it." Judy doesn't rely on bets. She relies on evidence. She turns the page so the courtroom and the cameras can see. Printed in large bold font is a post titled, "How to Fake Medical Records for Court Without Getting Caught." A collective gasp rips through the room. Corinne stumbles backward a step. That's not me. Anyone could have used that name." Judy turns another page. "Then perhaps," she says calmly, "you can explain why this post," she taps the line with her finger, "mentions an argument on the exact date you and Mr. Collins had your breakup." Corinne freezes. Her lips part. No words come out. Judy keeps going. Another screenshot. This time a search history. Editable sonogram template PNG. "Can you get in trouble for faking pregnancy? Best ways to look pregnant for court." The audience erupts into horrified whispers. Corinne shakes her head violently. No, that's not. Someone hacked me. Someone set me up." But her voice betrays her, shrill, cracking, frantic. Judy doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't need to. "Ms. Jacobs," she says, "if you were being framed, the person framing you would need to know intimate details of your personal life. The timing, the wording, the relationship arguments." She leans forward. "And considering your performance today, I find it much more likely that the author of these posts is standing right in front of me." Corinne's legs wobble. Her hands grip the podium like it's the last solid thing in her collapsing world. Daniel looks down at his lap, overwhelmed, not triumphant, not angry, just relieved. Relieved that someone finally sees the truth. Judy flips to the last screenshot. A draft post Corinne never published. "How do I make the father confess on camera? Need advice ASAP." The silence afterward is suffocating. Judy taps the page once. "Is there anything in your story that's real, Ms. Jacobs?" Corinne's mouth opens, but nothing comes out. "If you were Judge Judy, would you shut this case down right now, or dig deeper for the full truth?" The side door creaks open, a slow, deliberate sound that slices through the courtroom's tension like a razor. Corinne's head snaps toward it, and the color drains from her face faster than a lie from her lips. A woman steps inside. Early 30s. Nervous hands. Eyes that refuse to meet Corinne's. The bailiff leads her to the witness stand. Corinne stumbles back from the podium, panic flashing in her eyes. And no, why is she here? She has nothing to do with this. Judge Judy's gaze sharpens. "That's not your decision, Ms. Jacobs." Daniel, confused, leans forward. He recognizes the woman faintly, someone he'd seen once picking Corinne up from a job months ago. A coworker. The one Corinne didn't trust, but always seemed oddly afraid of. The witness settles into the chair, her fingers gripping the wooden rails like she's bracing against a storm. "State your name," the clerk says. "Emily Reyes," she whispers. Judy nods. "Ms. Reyes, you indicated you have information relevant to this case." Emily's throat bobs. "Yes, Your Honor." Corinne shakes her head violently. "She's lying, she hates me. She's jealous of me, she's here to destroy me." Emily flinches at the outburst. Judy raises a hand. "Not another word from you, Ms. Jacobs." Silence falls again, heavy waiting. Judy turns back to Emily. "Tell me what you know." Emily exhales shakily. Her voice wavers but doesn't break. "Corinne told me, months ago, that she wanted to ruin Daniel publicly. She said she was tired of being ignored, tired of feeling powerless. She said if he wouldn't come back to her, she'd make him regret it." Daniel's entire body stills. Emily continues, tears welling. "She said small claims court cases go viral, that she could control the narrative if she looked pregnant. She asked me to pose as a nurse if the court needed verification." Another eruption of gasps detonates across the courtroom. Corinne slams her palm on the podium. "That's a lie, I never said that. She's obsessed with me." "Ms. Jacobs," Judy snaps, "sit down." Corinne collapses into her chair, trembling. Judy gestures for Emily to proceed. Emily wipes her eyes. She even said she had the whole thing planned, what she'd wear, how she'd cry, which words would make her go viral. She practiced in the break room. She laughed about it. Daniel closes his eyes, gut twisting. To hear it spoke. Ken aloud. To hear that the nightmare he'd lived through wasn't an accident, but a performance, hits him harder than any accusation ever could. Emily's voice cracks on the next sentence. "She told me, if the baby doesn't exist, they can't prove it didn't." A cold, synchronized inhale from the audience sweeps through the room. Judy leans back in her chair, expression unreadable but undeniably furious beneath the surface. "Ms. Reyes," Judy says quietly, "what exactly did Ms. Jacobs say would happen after the episode aired?" Corinne's eyes widen. Because the next words could end everything. The courtroom hangs suspended in a stunned, breathless silence. Emily's last words still echo, haunting, heavy, impossible to ignore. Even the cameras seem to move slower now, circling the room like they're afraid to disturb the truth unraveling in the center. Judge Judy's voice cuts through the tension. "Ms. Reyes, answer the question. What did Ms. Jacobs say would happen after the episode aired?" Emily closes her eyes for a moment, gathering courage. Then she speaks. She said, "Once the world sees me crying on that stand, they'll love me. I'll get thousands of followers, maybe sponsorships, maybe a podcast." The audience erupts, sharp gasps, muffled outrage. Corinne's hands fly to her mouth, fingers trembling wildly. "No, no, I didn't." "Emily, stop, you're twisting everything." But it's too late. The spell she cast for weeks, months, has finally shattered. Daniel leans back in his seat, pain swimming across his features. Not anger, just a hollow grief. He loved this woman once. He trusted her smile. And now he's learning she was rehearsing a brand new version of herself, for strangers on the internet. Emily continues, wiping tears. She said people eat up emotional stories, that if she made Daniel look like a monster, the support would pour in. She even said she could spin it into a brand. Judge Judy's face hardens, not just with legal anger but moral fury. "This courtroom," she says slowly, "is not a business opportunity." Corinne jolts up from her seat, voice cracking with desperation. "I was joking." She took it seriously, she always does. "She hates me, she's jealous, she wants my life." Judy slams her palm on the bench. "Your life, Ms. Jacobs, appears to be one long performance." Corinne collapses into her chair, shoulders trembling. Her eyes dart wildly around the courtroom, as if searching for a single sympathetic face. There are none. Judy turns to Emily again. Did Ms. Jacobs ever express remorse, doubt, concern about the consequences of her actions? Emily shakes her head. No, she said, you can't get canceled for being a victim. That's the last thing she told me before I quit. A horrified murmur ripples through the audience. Daniel's breath leaves him in one broken exhale. Judy notices, and for a brief second, a soft flicker of empathy crosses her eyes. Then she looks back at Corinne. Miss Jacobs, Judy says, voice now lower, colder, cutting deeper than any gavel strike. This wasn't just a lie, this was a strategy. Corinne's face contorts, not with defiance this time, but with something closer to fear. Ruh. Unmasked. Her whisper is barely audible. I just wanted to be seen. Judy leans forward, unblinking. And now you are. The room tightens, everyone sensing the ground shifting towards something deeper, darker, truer than anything they've heard yet. Judy's eyes narrow. Ms. Jacobs, this wasn't about Daniel at all, was it? Corinne's breath catches, and the truth she's been running from finally steps out of the shadows. For the first time since she walked into the courtroom, Corinne doesn't look like a villain or a performer, or even the confident manipulator she'd crafted herself to be. She looks small, like a spotlight has finally burned too hot, and she's melting beneath it. The courtroom waits, quiet, breathless, as Judge Judy's question lingers in the air. This wasn't about Daniel at all, was it? Corinne's lips part, but the answer doesn't come. Only a soft, broken inhale. Judy doesn't rush. She lets the silence settle, lets it force honesty to the surface. Finally, Corinne whispers, I just didn't want to disappear. Her voice is nothing like before. Not sharp, not dramatic, not calculated. This one is real. Raw. Like a truth she's never said aloud. Daniel's eyes lift. Shock softens into something unexpectedly human, sadness maybe. This is the woman he tried to help. This is the woman he once held when she cried at night. It doesn't excuse anything, but it explains everything. Judy leans back, her expression shifting. Not sympathy, not forgiveness, but understanding of the why, not just the what. Disappearing, she says, is not solved by deception. Corinne closes her eyes, and the first real tear escapes. Not the theatrical kind, the kind that leaves a trembling shine on the cheek. Her shoulders cave, her posture collapsing inward like a paper tower finally losing its structure. The persona breaks. Judy turns to the stack of documents again. Ms. Jacobs, these aren't just lies. They're part of a pattern. You filed multiple claims over the years, different names, different men, but the same narrative. Always the victim, always abandoned, always wronged. Corinne squeezes her arms around herself, curling slightly forward. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I needed people to care. Nobody listens unless you're broken. The audience quiets, some lean in conflicted, others harden unmoved. Judy's voice softens, not kind but precise. You don't need to be broken to be heard, but you chose to manipulate instead of speak. You chose to punish instead of heal. Corinne's breath trembles. I didn't know what else to do. Daniel finally steps forward, voice cracking. You could have just talked to me. You didn't have to destroy me to feel seen. Corinne looks at him, really looks, and her face folds. Her facade crumples, dissolving into something fragile and painfully human. I thought if you saw what I could become, she whispers, you'd regret letting me go. Daniel's eyes lower. Judy studies them both, recognizing the emotional wreckage of a relationship warped into desperation. But empathy doesn't erase consequences. And Judy knows it. She straightens, voice regaining its edge. Well, intentional or not, Ms. Jacobs, you caused substantial harm, and now we must address the consequences. Corinne stiffens. The reality of what's coming hits her like a blow. Judy folds her hands, gaze unblinking. Because after reviewing all of this, Ms. Jacobs, the punishment cannot be minor. Corinne's breath stops, promises the full reckoning. The air in the courtroom thickens, heavy, unmoving, like everyone can feel the shift before it happens. Judge Judy straightens in her chair. Her silence alone makes Corinne flinch. This isn't questioning anymore. This is judgment. Judy's fingers tap once on the bench, sharp, final. "Ms. Jacobs," she says, "rise." Corinne stands on unsteady legs. The persona is gone, stripped away. What remains is a trembling woman, facing the ruins she built with her own hands. Judy lifts the stack of fake documents. They flutter slightly in her grasp, like they want to escape the weight of what they've done. "Let us recap," Judy begins, her voice low but cutting. "You forged medical records." She drops the first page onto the desk with a loud smack. "You stole a stranger's sonogram." Another smack. "You fabricated a medical timeline, invented clinics, and attempted to deceive this court with malicious intent." Another. "And you did all of this to manipulate, punish, and publicly shame Mr. Collins." Each word is an impact. Corinne trembles more violently with every blow. Daniel watches, chest tight, not triumphant, not smug, but shattered by the truth of what he endured. Judy's voice sharpens. "You weaponized a pregnancy. Do you understand how serious that is? Women come into this courtroom with real children, real harm, real struggles, and you believed your entertainment value outweighed their truth." Corinne covers her face with her hands. "I'm sorry," she whispers through her fingers. I lost myself. I didn't know how to make him see me again." Judy slams her palm against the bench. "No, you knew exactly what you were doing." Corinne jolts. "You didn't lose yourself, Ms. Jacobs. You hid behind a fantasy you sculpted, because in that fantasy you weren't responsible for your choices." The audience stays silent, not out of politeness but out of awe. This isn't a scolding. It's a moral undressing. Judy continues. "You dragged this man into a nightmare. You intended to destroy his reputation. You wanted attention, sympathy, a platform." She holds up the screenshots of Corinne's online search history. "And you nearly succeeded." Corinne's breath hitches. Her mascara smudges into dark crescents beneath eyes filled with something closer to recognition than fear. Judy softens only in clarity, not in mercy. "There is a difference between being unseen and choosing to be deceitful. You didn't ask for help. You demanded a stage." Corinne shakes her head, tears falling freely now. "I never wanted it to go this far." "But it did," Judy answers, "because you kept going." A cold stillness settles. Even the hum of the lights seems to dim. Judy straightens, her tone final. "Your actions were deliberate, harmful, and entirely avoidable, and the consequence must reflect that. This court cannot and will not allow such manipulation to go unanswered." Corinne's knees buckle. Daniel exhales shakily. This is the justice he's been waiting for. Judy lifts the gavel, but doesn't strike. "Ms. Jacobs, the punishment I'm about to give you will be one for the record books." The audience leans in. Because it will deliver the historical judgment no one saw coming. The gavel strikes once. A deep, resonant crack that seems to freeze the air itself. Corinne flinches so hard her knees nearly buckle. This is not a sound of order. This is a sound of history being written. Judge Judy rises slightly from her seat. Her presence commanding the entire room like gravity itself has centered on her. "Ms. Jacobs," Judy begins, "your case is not merely about a disagreement. It is about manipulation on a scale this courtroom has rarely witnessed." Corinne's breath stutters. She wraps her arms around herself, as if trying to hold together the pieces of a persona that has already shattered. Judy lifts the forged documents one more time and lets them fall in a messy cascade onto the bench. Each page lands with a soft slap, like the quiet aftermath of a storm. "You created a false pregnancy," Judy says, "to exploit this court, to torment an innocent man, and to profit from deception. That is not a misunderstanding. That is calculated misconduct." Daniel watches, hands trembling, not in anger but in release. The weight of every sleepless night, every accusation, every moment he doubted himself finally lifts. Judy continues, her voice sharp enough to cut steel. "This court awards the maximum damages to Mr. Collins, every cent available to him under this jurisdiction. Emotional distress, wasted time, costs associated with document verification, all of it." Corinne gasps, clutching the podium. But Judy isn't finished. "In addition," she says, "this case will be referred to producers and legal authorities for review of your falsified records. You attempted to pass forged medical documents as evidence. That is a violation that extends beyond this courtroom." A collective inhale ripples through the audience. Corinne's hand covers her mouth. "No, no, Judge, please, please, I didn't." "You did," Judy interrupts sharply. "And let me be very clear. Falsifying medical documents harms every real victim who steps into this courtroom looking for justice, not attention." Corinne crumbles, shoulders folding inward. There is no act left to perform. No tears to weaponize. No narrative to control. Just consequence. "And finally," Judy says, voice lowering to a tone that feels almost like a verdict carved in stone, "your behavior today, your lies, your manipulation, your misuse of this platform will follow you. Actions have consequences, Ms. Jacobs, even the ones crafted for fame." Corinne collapses into her seat, face pale, breathing sharp and uneven. The audience can only stare. Some shake their heads. Others cover their mouths in disbelief. A few glance at Daniel with quiet, empathetic relief. Judge Judy delivers the final blow. "This court finds your actions reprehensible and your punishment unprecedented. Judgment for the plaintiff." The courtroom erupts. Corinne sinks lower, as though wishing the floor would swallow her whole. Daniel exhales, finally free. But Judy remains standing, eyes fixed on Daniel with a rare softness. "Mr. Collins," she says gently, "there's one more thing we need to address." The room freezes. Because justice isn't finished yet. Would you call this justice or mercy? What would you have ruled? The courtroom slowly exhales, as if awakening from a collective trance. But Judge Judy doesn't sit down. She remains standing, eyes fixed on Daniel with an expression unseen until this moment. Something softer, something almost protective. Daniel straightens, unsure why he's suddenly the center of the room. Judy folds her hands gently on the bench. "Mr. Collins," she says, "you have endured something no person deserves, being painted as a villain in a story you never volunteered for." Corinne winces, shrinking deeper into her seat. The camera moves in on Daniel, capturing the faint tremor in his breath. This isn't victory, it's release. After months of doubt, fear, humiliation, and emotional manipulation, he finally stands in a room where the truth has weighed again. "You held your composure," Judy continues, "even when you were being torn apart by lies. That takes strength." Daniel nods, throat tight. Judy then turns to Corinne, slowly, deliberately. "Ms. Jacobs, what you did today is more than deception. It is a moral injury. You attempted to make the world see an innocent man through a distorted lens of your own pain." Corinne's eyes glisten, not with performance, but with the hollow realization that this moment will follow her far beyond these walls. Judy softens her tone, only enough to make the next words land deeper. "You wanted to be seen, But the truth, Ms. Jacobs, is that you hid behind lies because you feared who you were without them. Corinne covers her face, tears slipping through her fingers. Judy looks between them both, weighing the broken pieces of what was once a relationship, then addressing the courtroom itself. This case is not only about documents or evidence. It's about what happens when someone uses suffering as a weapon, when a person chooses deception over healing, when attention is prized above integrity. The audience listens in complete stillness. Judy's voice softens again, controlled but warm. Mr. Collins, you need the truth. Ms. Jacobs, you needed accountability. Today, you both received what was necessary, if not what was expected. Corinne lowers her hands, face streaked with remorse and exhaustion. Judy delivers her final words, each one precise and resonant. Manipulation may win moments, but truth wins time, and character, real character, is revealed not in the lies we tell but in the truths we face. A hush falls. Even the fluorescent lights hum a little softer. Daniel inhales deeply, a breath that feels like the first one he's taken in months. Corinne, broken open, whispers a trembling, "I'm sorry." Not to win sympathy. Not for a camera. But because consequence finally forced her to see herself clearly. Judy lifts her gavel once more, not for punishment this time, but for closure. "Judgment stands," she says. "This case is concluded." In the end, the performance crumbled, the truth prevailed. And justice, steady, unshakable, reminded everyone watching that arrogance collapses, deception decays, and honesty is the only foundation that never falls.